In the third and final part of this tutorial series about NPC spawners, we're going to cover spawning NPCs that don't have a player state, and they just have their behavior tree where they just jump out of joy every 3 seconds. And they also have the team colors. For example, here's how I use these spawners in my own project. So those are my two first really bare-bone AIs. One of them just follows along a spline when it doesn't have any target, and if I'm within its range, it will follow me. I will share the link to the marketplace asset. In my case, I just made sure that my spawner has a spline to follow, and I have extra options. And these little caterpillar, they just go towards me and then stop and then rinse and repeat. These ones are all Lyra character with abilities, and they don't actually have a player state each. So this is the technique we're going to use in this tutorial. So I'll just play, and they all have health, and I gave them 100 health each, so one hit will kill them. Yeah, so the floating ones, they just follow me. And the little caterpillar, I do have the tiniest nav mesh in this spot. But yeah, so those are my basic AIs. So I'm just going to stop this. Okay, so let's open our project from the part 2. And let's just go ahead and duplicate one of the AI spawners. And this one will be the one that we'll use to spawn our Lyra characters with abilities without a player state. To do that, first we need to create an AI controller that doesn't require a player state. And then we will feed that into our controller class. So let's go ahead and create a new C++ class. So go navigate to Tools, New C++ class, and then we're going to have this one be a modular AI controller. So very similar to the AI controller one. Okay, and then let's choose a Lyra game, and I'm going to call this one NPC controller. So NPC controller. And let's navigate to our NPC folder and select this folder. And let's just click on Create Class. I'm just going to save this map and open up my writer. Let's go ahead and paste all the code from the GitHub. So just for the NPC controller header file, just going to paste it all. So this class is pretty much the same code as the Lyra AI controller. So I can actually open that just to compare. I think it's Lyra bot controller. Okay, yeah, so it's very similar to the Lyra player bot controller, except for all of the logic that has to do with the player state. Yeah, and then navigate to your body file or your C++ file and paste the rest of the code. Okay, so all of that. Okay. So the key part of this class is just once player state is false, everything else is pretty much what we needed from just setting up the team attitude so that they can actually get damaged. Okay, and then since we are already in code, let's just copy the rest of the code. So in this case, we are going to navigate to Lyra character with abilities. So this is a class that comes with the Lyra starter game, and it's meant to be a character that has the ability system on itself, because usually the ability system is on the player state. Yeah, so as it says, represents a character with self-contained ability system component. With that one, I'm just going to paste the needed for declaration. So we need to know about the Lyra pawn data. And then let's go ahead and paste underneath the get ability system component, the rest of the code. So this is just the data, or this is the functions we just need to make sure that we set the pawn data. because usually that is handled also on the player state. Yeah, so, and then go ahead and navigate to the body file. So Alt O. Okay, and let's go ahead and paste the game change. Okay, so I'll just paste them here. And just our definition of this F name. Okay, and then let's go ahead and paste the rest of the needed code. So right underneath all this logic. So in the previous parts of this series, the pawn data was previously set whenever the Lyra character is possessed, and then we make sure that there is a Lyra player state, and then we set the pawn data. Or also it was also set whenever the experience is loaded, which was also logic in the Lyra player state. So this is why we have this logic here. So whenever our ability system is initialized, we set the pawn data. And so this was a good spot to kind of intercept and be in a good state where there is an ability system, there is an AI controller, and there's also this character is ready to receive its ability set, all the good stuff that comes with the pawn data. And since we're already in our C++ project, let's go ahead and navigate to the NPC Spawner. There was another functionality that's really nice that I decided to implement in my project, which is essentially to just have a blueprint implementable event that fires whenever an NPC is spawned so that you can do custom logic in your spawner blueprint. So let's go get that code. So here you go. So I guess I could just comment this part 3 spawner tutorial, but you probably don't need to put that in. Okay, so we actually want to call this event whenever a AI is spawned from this class. So go ahead and navigate to your server create NPCs. So F12, and this one spawns one NPC, so F12. Okay, so we need to have our pawn. So right below our spawn NPC on destroyed, let's go ahead and call our function with our newly spawned NPC. Okay, so then this function is ready to be implemented in Blueprint, and you can do any logic that you need to do whenever an NPC is spawned. Let's go ahead and run or debug our project. Okay, so back in the project, if you click on your new NPC spawner where we want to spawn our new pawns, navigate to the details panel, and then let's just browse to that asset. And let's go ahead and start to just create our folder for our new enemy. So this enemy, I'm just going to call it something very basic. So just bouncing NPC, because that's all this NPC is going to do. Bounce and die. It's a pretty sad existence. Yeah, so let's go ahead and just copy paste the ability sets and data that we had. I won't copy the pawn. Oh, and also I will maximize my screen. So Shift F11. Great, this is much better. Yeah, so I will just copy this one and that one. All right. And I'll call these ones ability set, NPC bouncy is good. NPC bouncy. So our NPC will pretty much only want a jump ability, and everything else can stay really. But I'm just going to make it bounce pretty much. And then I'll just call this one bouncy NPC data. bouncy NPC data. Okay, and let's go ahead and plug that in. So right there. So now we have pawn data, and our ability set that we want is that one. So bouncy is good. The rest is okay. Okay. So now let's actually go ahead and create our pawn. So right click and then blueprint class. And let's search for Lyra character with abilities. So select that one. And then let's call this one B_NPC bouncy. Okay, so this is the most basic AI I could do. I'm just going to make this one be pretty much just a sphere. So 45 by 45 is good. And I'm going to just add a sphere. All right. And then this sphere already has a nice, there's already a nice material that we can use. So team color basic. I think it's the same one we use for the Unreal 4 mannequin, and it's facing that way. So I'm just going to duplicate this and just make them into tiny, tiny eyes. So I'm just going to scale that down. Oh, uniformly. Okay. All right. It's better in the viewpoint, the viewport. All right, great. And then the other eye. Unfortunately, I can't Alt and then move to duplicate. That would be nice. So I just right click and duplicated. And then I'll move this one over there. So now we know where it's looking at. And then because I wasn't using a skeletal mesh, I'm just going to look at the collision profile of the mesh just to make sure I'm using the same one. So it's the Lyra pawn mesh and can step on. So I'm just going to select all of them just to bulk edit. And then this one was Lyra pawn mesh and owner is good. No need for overlapping events. All right. And then let's just make sure that our bouncy NPC data uses our new bouncy pawn. All right. And let's make sure to use our newly created NPC controller, so this one won't spawn a player state. Okay, so when we play, 3 of these bouncy NPCs should spawn. Alright, great. So there's actually 4. Oh, I think it's because it was team ID 3, but 4 NPCs to spawn. So the first thing we want to do is have them get the team color. So for the team color, I'm going to borrow a lot from our other mannequins. So our NPC shooter Unreal 4 mannequin that we had created. And it listens for the team and it sets the initial team color. So those are all, this is all logic that we would like. And this calls team or cosmetic event changed. And this one calls update custom stencils. So I'm just going to grab all the logic that we need. So the be hero default is a function that we can use ourselves. Okay, so I'm just going to find it in the functions panel. So update custom stencil from team ID. Just right click on that, copy. And then in our bouncy NPC, you can right click on your functions, paste this function. Okay, great. And then we're going to get the rest of the functions. Okay, and then the other really useful function we can have is create, I'll just put them side by side so we can see. Okay, so, there we go. So I'll have them side by side. Okay, so I need the create or update outline if needed. So it's all really useful functions that already exist. So why not take advantage and use them? Okay, and then copy, and let's go ahead and paste this one. Okay, and then the next bit that we want to repurpose is this whole section here. So it listens for the team color and whenever the teams change, etc. So we're just going to paste that inside of our event graph in our bouncy NPC. All right. And then let's go ahead and navigate to our listen for teams. So whenever the game begins, or whenever this pawn begins play, we're just going to make sure that we listen for when the team is changing. We register to our team changing, and then we set our initial team color. Okay, so let's compile, save. I'm surely missing some variables here and there. I'm just going to minimize this other one, and let's just look at our errors. Oh, okay. So yeah, we're just missing this variable. So I'm just going to right click on it and create variable. Okay. Yeah, so now we'll have the same functionality that the Lyra characters have. So yeah, great. Okay, so now when we play, they should be green. So let's test that out. Shooter gym. So there you go, they are green. The mean green machines. Yeah, so the next thing I want to cover is, oh, and also they have a lot of health. I will just turn on God mode or else I just die really fast. Yeah, so we can murder them with melee. Another thing I noticed is that our spawners collisions are on. So let's go ahead and change that. So I'm just going to stop. And then in our spawners, oh, and also there is a message log, just an error. So let's just go and see what that's all about. Okay, so the spawn effect. So in our case, I'm guessing, yeah, we're trying to have a spawn effect, but there's no cached controller. So I'm just going to check, are you valid, so we can clear that error. And let's compile and save. Okay, and then let's also go ahead and click on our spawner, click on our class, and we're just going to make sure that our capsule has no collisions because we don't want to step on it. So yeah, let's just go ahead and change this one to just no collisions, and character no overlap. No, we don't need to step on it. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure that I can't go through that anymore. Okay, great. This one refused to die. Oh wait, I can still go on it. Oh, it's probably because there was an enemy there. So what's happening is that they still live on even after they're dead. So you might have to finagle or play with their death delay. Yeah, so what I didn't cover setting a behavior tree in the other parts. So I'd like to go over that now. So let's go all the way up here. And let's go ahead and create a behavior tree. So navigate to shooter core content. And then under NPC, bouncing NPC, let's just go ahead and create a new behavior tree. So right click, artificial intelligence, and then behavior tree. And let's just call this one BT underscore bouncy NPC. Okay, and then let's just drag this one and let's just choose a sequence. So in our case, it's not that much of a sequence because they're just going to jump every 3 seconds. Okay, and then right click here and then add service. And then you'll notice that there's nothing for just play and ability, kind of like just the shoot one. So, and then if you double click on shoot and let's just browse to it, you'll notice that the other services are here. So let's go ahead and create a new service. So right click, blueprint class, and then service. Okay, so this one here, and select, and then let's call this one BTS jump. Okay, so it definitely won't be as complex as the shoot. All we're going to do is we're going to override the receive tick AI. Okay. And then, so for our pawn, if our pawn is valid. Okay, so if our pawn is valid, let's just go ahead and send a gameplay event to that pawn. So that will send it to their ability component, and it will kind of act as a kind of like if you tap the key and it sends that event. So send gameplay event to actor. Okay. And then that gameplay event is just the input tag. Oh, I wasn't clicked on it. Input tag and then jump. Okay. So now we get this input tag, but it's not a key that was pressed. So we will need to modify the jump ability a little bit to handle this new behavior. But first of all, let's just make sure that we call this service from our new behavior tree. So instead of shoot, I'm just going to delete that one and then right click, add service, and then jump. Okay, and then we're going to just make them jump every three seconds with a random deviation of 0.1 or whatever the default was. So yeah, I guess the simplest behavior tree, but you could always expand it, that's for sure. Yeah, so our NPC, we just gotta make sure that they actually use this new behavior tree. So BT bound. Oh, I have the wrong one selected. So this one with the bouncy NPC data, let's choose our bouncy NPC behavior tree. So that all their brain does is jumps every 3 seconds. So they're quite happy, quite a happy bunch. Okay, so the last step of this is that we need to go to our hero jump, or technically we could just create a NPC jump, but I figured we could just use the same ability as it has all the logic that we need. A little bit more, it handles some UI stuff, but all we're going to do, these tabs are getting very busy. So this is my hero jump. I'm gonna click on the class default, and then we can see that the ability activation is on input triggered. So we're going to add another trigger, which is just essentially waiting for that gameplay event. Input tag jump. Seems a bit counterintuitive that it's an input tag. So maybe we could use an event like NPC trigger jump or something, a tag that's more descriptive. Okay, so we have that. But there was also a check somewhere for that was making this ability fail. So this ability, whenever it activates, it waits until the input is released and it tests if it's already been released. And in our case, that AI technically already released that key because they don't even have a keyboard. So here we're going to just check, before we have this check, we're going to make sure that we are in fact a player. And if not, we will just have a delay for a second and just make sure that the ability ends gracefully. Okay, so go ahead and navigate to your event activate ability in your hero jump. And then we're going to just call this function get Lyra player controller from actor info. So that's pretty much the easiest way to know that we are not a player. So if this is valid, so this is only if someone has a keyboard, they're player controlled. So if this is valid, then we go ahead and wait for the input release. If not, then we just wait for a delay. 1 second is good. And then we end ability after that delay. All right, so let's see if our NPCs are jumping out of joy. So let's play. And there you go. They're jumping every 3 seconds, give or take, with a 0.1 second deviation. So that's why they're not perfectly in sync. So essentially you could make them do any kind of logic, any ability. You could have them follow the players. But yeah, essentially this is how I handled simple NPC spawning in my project. So yeah, I wish you a lot of fun in your adventures with NPCs and enemies in your game, and see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.